Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Omega Metroid podcast. I am your host today, Doominal Crossing, joined by nobody. It looks like, it looks like it's just going to be me today. Andy and I, we had another episode planned today, which we'll probably be talking about next week. But unfortunately, Andy had a little bit of an emergency, and so he had to step away. So yeah, if you all could give some thoughts to Andy and his family tonight. I think he would really appreciate that. But yeah, we'll be together next week talking about what we were originally going to talk about this week. But since it's just myself, I figured I'd do a little bit of a solo episode for you guys today. And now I remember last time I tried attempting a solo episode, I said it would be short. It ended up being a couple hours long. I'm fairly confident in saying that today the solo episode should not go anywhere near as long. I'm pretty confident in saying it's actually going to be on the shorter side of things today. But, so yeah, I got a really fun episode planned out for you guys. Before we do that, I wanted to talk about a little bit of a fresh leak that just that everyone's been talking about. We got rumors that a Metroid movie is being pitched by Nintendo, and that Sony and Universal Studios are in a bidding war to buy it. Ooh. And that's pretty much all that's in the information right now. We don't know whether or not Nintendo's pitching an animated film, a live action film, what the tone of it is going to be. We just, according to this leak, Nintendo's pitching the film and Sony and Universal are the interested parties. Is this true? Obviously, who knows? We'll find out, I guess we'll find out eventually if it is true, but, yeah, I just thought it was, I don't know if I necessarily believe this rumor right now, especially because I definitely don't recognize the source that's making, the claims right now, but, it is interesting that we are seeing, this kind of rise of Metroid rumors all of a sudden. You know, last month we had the Metroid 6 / Super Metroid remake rumors. Now we have this rumor of a potential Metroid movie being pitched. And of course, this all comes after the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which does have a Metroid cameo in it, as we've talked about before. I'm still not going to spoil what that cameo is for those who haven't seen it yet, who still want to be surprised and delighted. But yeah, there is definitely a Metroid cameo in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. So all of that kind of coalescing together, I do have to admit, it's kind of interesting, but could also very well mean nothing at the same time. But yeah, that's probably something that we'll discuss on a future episode. Definitely, we've done a lot of Metroid movie discussions now that it's coming a little bit more into the news than it has previously, beyond just like, pure speculation. I don't know. Let us know what you guys want. I know I saw a couple people in the Discord saying that they wanted us to talk about that, so that's definitely something that we will consider. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick before we get into today's topic, and that is definitively ranking all of the save station animations in the Metroid series. And this is an idea that I had a few months ago. I'm a real big fan of like very niche top 10 lists, like, taking a very niche, hyper-specific subject matter and just definitively ranking it. It was kind of the inspiration last year when I was, when I pitched our ranking each of the Metroid menus. It was kind of in that same kind of mentality that I was thinking of. And there's one other episode which for sure we will be doing later in the year that's also kind of related. This was one of the rejected pitches though initially. Something that the rest of the crew wasn't really interested in doing. So I kind of tossed it out. But I figured since it's just by myself today and I wanted to get something out for you guys rather than releasing another ROM hack, since we did a couple of those fairly recently. I thought, you know what? Let's dig through the trash. Let's bring this concept back. And yeah, let's do just a quick definitive ranking of the save station animations, because I'm a big fan of killer animations. There's something about a save station animation. Like there's a certain section of the community that I know can relate, that gets hyped up. I know before Metroid Prime 4 came out, during the preview gameplay, one of the first people, aside from the Miles McKenzie drama, one of the first thing that people was looking through is like, oh my gosh, what's the new save station animation like for this game? Like, yeah, there's something about those save station animations that just I don't know, it's exciting. There's something cool about seeing like, ooh, what's the new one gonna look like? And so yeah, I thought, you know what, let's rank them all. Let's do it. So I have a list down here of every single save station that appears in the Metroid games, not including Prime Remastered. We're just gonna be doing Prime 1 on its own. Prime Remastered is not going to be a separate category. And I was actually surprised how many Metroid games don't have save stations, actually, when you really come to think of it. Obviously, the vast majority of the games do, but there's actually more games that don't have those animations than you would think. Nestroid being the first game, that does not have one. Metroid 2 allows you to save your progress, but it's not really through a save station. It's like this platform, and it doesn't really have a dedicated animation for it either. Prime Pinball doesn't. Metroid Prime Hunters does not have a save station animation. Again, you can save your progress at the gunship, but there's no dedicated save stations in that game. And then, there was one other. Oh yeah, Federation Force. Obviously, a very different type of game. It's very level to level based. You don't really go back and revisit those levels to do new parts that you didn't do before. So that game doesn't have save stations, obviously. And it kind of builds up like that. So let's go back to where it all started, at least in terms of the save stations. We're gonna go in chronological order, ranking these save stations. I don't have a definitive one in my mind yet, so I'm gonna be kind of coming to my conclusions in real time and formulate my thoughts like very in the moment. That's kind of how I like to do things. I just kind of like to improvise it. So we're gonna start things off in 1994 with Super Metroid, and man, what a great save station animation to start this all off with. And also really cool because when in Super Smash Brothers, when Samus enters a stage, this is the save station that's being referenced when she does it. It's a very similar type of like cylindrical type of like glass tube save station that she exits on the stage. It's based off this one from Super Metroid. And it's really interesting because a lot of the save stations throughout the Metroid series, as we'll talk about shortly, are very like energy based. You might have lasers, digital circuitry, and you do have a little bit of that, but this save station feels very mechanical compared to a lot of the other save stations throughout the series. And even though like there's a laser, when Samus saves her progress, you have a rapid laser that like goes all over her body. The noise it makes, again, like very mechanical based. It sounds like a physical object rather than like the hum of like, electricity or, some sort of energy like that. So I think it's really cool. I love the sound it makes, that little and how it slows down like that. Very cool stuff there. So as you all know, when we do definitive rankings, we just kind of stack one on top of the other, one below the other, and so we don't really have any others to go off of at the moment. So we're just going to start things off and place Super Metroid at the number 1 spot for now. All right. Yeah, and so next up, we have Metroid Fusion in 2002. Metroid Fusion in 2002. I don't know why I just repeated myself again. I'm going to say right off the bat, I definitely prefer the Super Metroid save station, so this one's definitely going below that. This save station animation, it's very quick. It's very quick and to the point, which on one hand is a positive because it's showing off like, because on one hand it's like, hey, you know what, you can get back into the action a lot quicker. But the thing is, not really. You don't actually do it because you still have to wait for, you still have to hop on this floating platform, wait for the platform to slowly lower, then do the confirmation on whether or not you want to save your progress. Then you go through this quick animation and then you can step off. And so the animation itself is very quick, but the process is still about the normal length of a save station. And so I feel like that quick animation is almost kind of redundant in a sense. So I will say what I do like about it. Typically a lot of like the lines, when a save is happening, they're very very parallel level. They have a very even parallel surface when those animations are happening. The fusion animation is like the only one where it's offset. It's coming in at a vertical angle when it circles around Samus. And I actually do like that it kind of mimics this 3D object, because typically in the 2D games, it's using these very flat lines to show the energy on Samus. This one is very clearly, using perspective to make it look like, this ring that's going around Samus. And you combine that with like this offset vertical position point of it. I think that looks really cool. I just wish the animation was, a little bit longer. It's just like, it's there and then it's gone. And then I also just like the sound design of the Super Metroid one a bit better than that. But still a solid one, not a bad animation. Just my personal preference there on the two. So I'm going to put Metroid Fusion below Super Metroid. And oh boy, coming up next, we got Metroid Prime, our first 3D save station. And I'm going to just tell you right now, this one is going all the way to the top, baby. All the way to the top. I love the Metroid Prime save station animation. And I mean, you want to talk about sound design. My God, the sound design of this save station is absolutely killer. Probably my favorite sound design of all the save stations here. I love I love the ambiance of the save station theme that Kenji Yamamoto composed, where it sounds like the device itself is like inhaling and exhaling along with you. And then along with that very ominous drone in the background, though. While it's doing those breaths at the same time, absolutely fantastic. And then it almost sounds like a surgical device when it's in operation. It starts doing these very subtle like sirens as it activates, as the lasers activate. It's almost like a, hey, operation in progress, stand back while this is happening. And then I love Samus's stance as well. She's like in her battle stance, and then she kind of just relaxes, like as the lasers are like healing up and repairing her suit. And then of course, right as you're going back to first person, you have the boom, 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 right as you go back into first person. The timing on that is killer. That sound effect is going to be present in all of the Metroid Prime save stations, but I like the timing of it the best in this game. The way everything is just rapid fire. You got the lasers, you got that sound effect, and then you have the helmet refresh. Just boom, 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 one after the other. Yeah, this is an absolutely killer save station animation, and I absolutely love it. What do we have up next? I believe we have Metroid Zero Mission up next. I actually forgot to put this on my phone, but I'm glad I remembered Metroid Zero Mission. That is indeed up next. The Zero Mission animation, this is an interesting one. Where do I want to put Metroid Zero Mission? Zero Mission. So Zero Mission is interesting because it kind of brings back the Super Metroid concept again of like this cylindrical tube, but it does it in a unique way. In Super Metroid, the cylinder is kind of already formed. In Zero Mission, it like materializes, does its process, and then dematerializes again, which I think is which I think looks really cool. And then rather than having like these actual lines of energy or electricity or like lasers or anything, you kind of like it's kind of interpreted as like segments of like Samus's body lighting up from the ground up, and it's a really cool effect there. And again, like some really cool sound design. I like the sound design of especially when the save station retracts again. There's something about that boom boom when it retracts back into the ceiling again. There's something about that in particular that just really like, I don't know, really triggers my neurons in my brain. There's something about that sound effect that I really like. I think I'm gonna put this. I know it's going above Metroid Fusion. Do I want to put it above Super Metroid? I'm gonna say, in terms. You know what? I think I do have to put it over Super Metroid. I like the sound design, I think, overall of the Super Metroid save station better. But we are at the end of the day, we're ranking the animation work first and foremost on these save stations, and I do think the animation of this one is a step above, and it's the perfect length too. It's not too quick like the Fusion is, and it's not redundant either. So yeah, I am going to do Metroid Zero Mission. And technically, if you really want to get technical with it, I'll put that as number 1, because Metroid Zero Mission is actually, now that I think about it, the only Metroid game that has 2 different types of save stations. You have your normal save stations throughout the game, and then you have your Chozodia / Space Pirate mothership save stations, which will also replenish your energy. So you get the energy replenishing segment first, and then you get the save afterwards. Actually, no, I'm gonna rank them similarly. I think the mothership ones are even better, just because there's basically more animation going on top of that when you step on the platform. But otherwise, the actual cylindrical tube that materializes, the colored segments that appear on Samus, that all stays the same. The Space Pirate Mothership one just gives you some bonus animations on top of that. So if anything, I think that's really just going to definitively put that on top of Super Metroid for me, is those Mothership animations. But I also don't think they're different enough to where I can rank them separately. So I'm just going to put Metroid Zero Mission right here between Metroid Prime and Super Metroid. Next up, we got Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. And of course, because this is another Metroid Prime save station, it's going to be very similar to the Prime 1 save station as well. And you have the same save station ambiance theme that Prime 1 has. The lasers have a slightly different noise this time. They almost feel like, I don't know, maybe a little bit more calmer and restorative this time, which on one hand, I think I prefer the sound effect from Metroid Prime 1, but I also feel like what Prime 2 is going for, I think the new sound effect that the lasers go for is definitely a better choice. And the animation is really interesting because this time, when Samus goes in the save station, she is beat. She is tired. She just kind of like lays her head and her arms down. She kind of just like, not really sulks, but yeah, just kind of like, you really feel the weight of like everything that she's been through, and she just kind of lets it all out once she enters that save station. And then when the lasers start doing their work and start repairing the suit, you kind of in real time start to see Samus get her energy and her athleticism back. She kind of like takes a deep breath, stands at attention, clutches her fist. And then you get a really interesting close-up shot on the helmet afterwards. Again, as that jingle comes on, the like, and she kind of like opens her opens her eyes, almost like she just got this, almost like this burst of adrenaline. Like she's like, okay, we're back in the fight. We're ready to go again. I think it's a really cool piece of mini storytelling that I really like about the Echo save station, which you don't really get with any other save stations in the game. It's like again, really, really subtle piece right there that I think is, I think adds a lot to Samus in Metroid Prime 2, which, again, for those who don't know, Metroid Prime 2 is my favorite characterization of Samus, and I think you have these subtle moments like the save station animation that show that. And so, it was funny. I was ready to put Prime 2 below Prime 1, but I don't know, as I'm talking about this in real time, I think I have to put the Prime 2 save station above Metroid Prime 1. Again, I like the sound design of Prime 1 slightly more, and I do like kind of that quick escalation of one after another in succession. But yeah, I think that subtle storytelling aspect of the Prime 2 save station is just really cool. It's a really unique take on the save station that we don't really get to see in really most of the save station animations that we in the whole series. So yeah, I wasn't planning on doing it, but I talked myself into it. I'm putting Metroid Prime 2 Echoes at the number 1 slot. And before we continue on to Metroid Prime 3, or actually no, we'll go to Metroid Prime 3 and then we'll kind of do a recap of what our order is. So up next we have Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and this is easily the most unique save station, at least of the mainline Metroid Prime trilogy, because this is the first save animation in the game that abandons the lasers directly repairing the suit altogether. Instead, now you have like you have like this kind of swirling of this like kind of 360 swirl of like energy around Samus, and then you have like kind of like a traditional 2D ring that goes up and down Samus, like you would have seen in like Super Metroid, for example, which is a really cool callback to that game as well. But yeah, animation wise, I think is really cool. Sound design, I don't quite like as much as Prime 1 and 2. And I do admit, I think the addition of the lasers is a really cool addition of that game. I understand why it doesn't really work with this animation. It would be hard to like kind of do both at the same time. There'd be like a lot of collision going on between those two sources. So it's really cool, but I think I am ultimately going to put this below. Yeah, I'm going to put this below. Definitely Prime 1 and 2. The question is, do I put this below Zero Mission as well? You know what? This is tough because again, I really like the animation, and I shouldn't judge on what's being taken away from it. You know what? I think I'm going to tentatively put this above Metroid Zero Mission, even accounting for the Pirate Mothership save stations. But I might come back to this later and rethink my decision. Because again, I still really like the Prime 3 save station. It's just definitely my least favorite of that mainline trilogy. So yeah, I think Prime 3 for now is gonna go above that. I will say I do also like the colors as well. I like kind of like the neon blue of like the main energy particles that swirl around Samus, and then that line you have a little bit of green mixed in there. And then you have like kind of the lights on the Varia suit as well have like this glowing hue that come off it as well, which is a nice touch as well. So yeah, I think for now we're gonna stick with Prime 3 above Metroid Zero Mission. And before we continue, let's do a quick recap of what our order is, because believe it or not, we only have 4 save stations left to go. Yeah, we've already tackled more than half of them. Although I will say this episode's already gone on longer than I thought it was gonna go. So yeah, definitely gonna be a shorter episode for sure, folks. But But yeah, so in last place, we have Metroid Fusion. In next up, we got Super Metroid, which I'm actually surprised how low Super Metroid is in this list so far. I didn't think it would be that low at this point. Then we got Metroid Zero Mission, which again, we're grouping in both of those save stations types in this game. And then it's just a Prime Avalanche after that. We got, after Zero Mission, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Then, again, the biggest surprise for me so far, Metroid Prime 1 in second place, and in the number one spot right now, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, which, yeah, not where I expected to rank that, but yeah, that's where my heart's at right now. All right, so next up we have Metroid Other M. Now, there's obviously a lot of things you can criticize Metroid Other M for. I don't think the save station is going to be the number one item on my list, not by a long shot. That being said, I definitely don't think it's anywhere near the strongest. I don't think it's a bad animation by any means, but it's just kind of whatever. You just kind of, it takes the Zero Mission approach of like lighting up segments of lighting up segments of Samus's body, but whereas Zero Mission, it was kind of interpreted as like these, these lines of energy that were like coursing through the suit. Other M almost takes a more literal approach to that, where it's like different portions of the suit are like almost getting highlighted rather than like, having like this energy repair system, like repairing each portion of the suit. And I don't think that quite works as well doing that approach in a 3D space. And then of course the ring, you have this kind of generic green ring of this low resolution green ring of energy that goes around Samus as well. That just, again, it's not bad, but it's just kind of whatever. I will say one thing I do like about this animation is the camera work. The camera work is really cool. The way it transitions from, behind Samus's back, does like this quick 360 turnaround showing the repair process happening, and then immediately just floats back into that player control camera, all seamlessly. I think that is really cool. I wish the actual animation itself that the camera was showing off was just a little bit stronger. So I think that definitely is going to go. I'm going to put that above Metroid Fusion still, actually. So that's going to go below Super Metroid and above Metroid Fusion. Yeah, just because of the camera work, which the camera work is genuinely really cool, and I think that alone is going to help put that above Fusion, but otherwise, it's kind of whatever, in my opinion. All right, and then we have 3 more to go. Next up, we got Metroid Samus Returns, and let's see. So, sorry, I just got a notification on my phone. Anyway, so Metroid Samus Returns. This one's actually really funny. So, if you had asked me before because I went before I started recording, I looked on YouTube and just did like a quick watch of like all of these save station animations, and if you had asked me before, I would have assumed that Samus Returns was probably like kind of a middle of the pack save station animation, but upon looking at it again, this is an easy last place contender. In fact, I'm actually gonna go out and say it. I think the Metroid Samus Returns save station animation is just bad. This is our first and probably only straight up Garbo save station animation, if I'm being completely honest, which is a shame because Metroid Samus Returns has some killer animation work in some of the other areas of the game, particularly with some of the enemies. Obviously, you have Samus's counters and finishing moves and stuff like that. So yeah, Samus Returns is filled with a lot of killer animation. Unfortunately, this save station is not one of them. Samus just kind of walks into the background, which at least for the time is unique. It's not really something we've seen in a 2D game before. It's taking advantage kind of of not just the 2.5D graphical design, but also like the 3D capabilities of the 3DS. That's interesting. But again, the animation itself, it's just, when you're actually saving, actually nothing happens. It's only when you respawn that you kind of have like these flashing lights all over. But that's really all it is. It's just like some flashing lights just kind of happening all over the save station tube. And yeah, it kind of looks a little, just kind of looks a little boring. It doesn't really look great with the game's bloom lighting either, in my opinion. So again, I'm not offended by the save station animation by any means, but I think this is easily going in last place. I don't even have to think about it that hard, to be honest. But Mercury Steam is about to make up for that, because their next save station animation is in Metroid Dread, our next game, and this is a huge improvement over the Samus Returns save station animation. Now, when we were talking about the Metroid Fusion save station, I talked about how, the animation itself is quick, but that quickness is redundant because there's still so many steps you have to go through in order to achieve that animation. And so it's short, but it doesn't fulfill the purpose. Well, the Metroid Dread animation pretty much solves all of that. This is a very quick save station animation, and it's not redundant. Samus walks into the save station, boom, she's out, like that. And there's so much other stuff to talk about this as well. If you haven't activated a save station before, the way the room starts off in low power mode with no lights, and then you turn it on, the whole room lights up. The only light sources are like maybe some minimal power lines, or of course the lights coming off of Samus's dread suit as well. And just the way that changes immediately into a fully powered bright room, that alone is cool. But then you have this return of the more mechanical style save station as well from Super Metroid. I would say this one's the most mechanical save station that throughout the entire series so far, even surpassing the mechanical elements that we saw in Super Metroid, where you have these 3 rings that just slowly hovered up. Samus steps in, they all do like a quick turnaround, and then she steps out. Really, really cool, lightning fast. This is a really, really cool one. I think, so obviously this is definitely going above Samus Returns. It's going above Samus Returns, Fusion, and Other M. The question for me is, do I put this over Super Metroid? Do I put this over Zero Mission? Do I put this over Prime 3? It's not going over Prime 1 and 2. Definitely not going over Prime 1 and 2. And I also don't think it's going over Zero Mission or Prime 3 as well, if I'm being honest, even though I still really like it. Does it go above Super Metroid? I am going to say no, it does not. I think I'm still going to give the edge to Super Metroid, but just barely. I think both of these save station animations are like neck and neck, but I really do like the sound design of that little of the Super Metroid save station, and so I think that's gonna put it just over the edge of the Dread one for myself. And with that leaves us with one more. We have Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And is my phone not going to let me copy this? There we go. Yeah, so last but not least, we got Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, our newest guest in the line of Metroid save stations. And again, this is very similar to the rest of the save station animations that we've had in the Metroid Prime trilogy. It uses a lot of the same sound design, including the when just before the camera pans back to first person. So really glad that a lot of that was carried over. I think that's like a defining aspect of the Metroid Prime save stations. I will say it's a good save station. I think this is easily my least favorite though, and again, I don't think this really is factored into my thoughts on Metroid Prime 4 itself. Obviously, the save station animation is like, far from like any of my complaints of the game. In fact, it's none of my complaints. It's just personally, I think it's my least favorite save station, but I think it's still a really good one, all things considered. But it pretty much does the Prime 3 concept where they didn't bring back the lasers. They stick with the energy rings that Prime 3 does. But honestly, with the Prime 3 save station, it feels like there's just a lot more going on, a lot more particle effects going on, particularly in the energy that's doing its repairs on the suit. The save station itself, I do like the way that it kind of comes out of the ceiling, kind of similar to what the Zero Mission save station does. I think that looks really cool. But yeah, the actual rings themselves, I think are somewhat of a downgrade from the Prime 3 style rings. And then also Samus's body language is pretty static throughout most of the process, unlike the Prime 3 and especially the Prime 2 animation as well. So I think that's another thing to consider as well. I am actually I think I'm going to put this below Dread, actually. I'm going to put the Prime 4 save station below Dread. Which, again, I have to reiterate, I think it's still a good save station animation. Of the complaints that I have for Metroid Prime 4, which there are many, the save station is not on this list. It is if Metroid Prime 5 fixed all of my complaints with Prime 4 and reused the same save station animation, you would not be hearing any complaining from me at all whatsoever. Yeah, that's pretty much our list right there. Like I said, very short episode of the Omega Metroid podcast today. Although, again, we're at least as of my OBS, we just hit 37 minutes. So yeah, honestly, longer than I thought that this whole thing would be. Let's wrap things up and let's go over the entire list all together, folks. In last place, we have Metroid Samus Returns. Then next up, we have Metroid Fusion. And above that, Metroid Other M. Above that, and again, lower than I thought it was going to be, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Above that, we have Metroid Dread. Then next, just barely. Honestly, these two are like almost interchangeable for me, but just above Metroid Dread, we have Super Metroid. Then up next, we got Metroid Zero Mission, counting both of the save stations in that game. And then we got Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, followed by Metroid Prime 1. And again, coming in with the surprise victory, even to myself, my number one pick is got to go to Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. And yeah, there it is. That is, at least as of right now, that is my definitive rankings of all of the save station animations in the entire Metroid series so far. Can't wait to see what the Metroid 6 save station looks like, and, as these things always go, that's just my thoughts today. I could rank these again tomorrow, and, maybe Prime 1 does become my number one choice again. Who knows? But that's just how I'm feeling today. And yeah, that will do it for today's podcast. Again, Andy and I, we will see you next week for another episode that we were planning on doing today. In the meantime, though, if you want to catch up on all of our episodes, you can follow this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Podbean, pretty much everywhere where you get your podcasts from. And if you want even more Omega Metroid content, the big hub where you can find everything at is OmegaMetroid.com. All of our podcasts are there, along with various articles that we write, editorials and musings that our staff writes. We also have walkthroughs, including most recently our edition of the Metroid Prime Hunters single-player walkthrough that we released for that game's 20th anniversary last month. We have a podcast theme that you already heard and that you're probably hearing just now as we exit the episode. In the description, you can download that for the low price of free as well. And of course, If you want to follow us, you can follow the podcast at Omega Metroid. You can follow Andy Spiteri at Spiteri316, myself at Doominal Cross, and Dakota Latsky at DaxCity_ on Blue Sky. Folks, that'll do it for us today. I'll see you all next week, and I'll see you all next mission.